Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Finally back to posting card videos. And this one's using some of the brand new products from Honeybee Stamps. Stay tuned, I will have a release and review video coming a little later this week to share it all. Anyway, starting off with the Hello Sweetheart stamp set. It has this great big floral heart that I just love. I love Honeybee's floral images. And then there's like a bunch of sentiments. So I'm starting with the big floral, and I have some smooth white cardstock. I put it in my MISTI. I used my anti-static powder tool. And then I inked up the stamp with Honeybee's new clear embossing ink. It's a great ink. Really, I'm a fan of all clear embossing inks. I have yet to ever use one that isn't good. So this is another good option. So I inked up the stamp with the clear embossing ink after I'd used my anti-static powder tool. And then I'm coating this with some gold embossing powder. And just the gold on white. I wanted to just do, you know, my black, gold, and white cards. As I was melting this, I was like, oh, this is nice. But I was determined, I really wanted to use the stencils, which you'll see in like a minute here. But this is definitely an image where you could just do this. Like just heat emboss it, add a sentiment or two, stick it on a card, and you're done. Like, you know, the detail is there and it's gorgeous. And yeah, like just like this. Like I was like, oh, I could just add, you know, some sentiments. Apologies if you're hearing random noises. My dog is in here with his cone of shame on, and he gets very upset with me when I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you guys, not to him. So he's just not happy with me. He's just glaring at me. Anyway, I did this all twice because why not? You know, you got the supplies out. Why not do more than one? This, honestly, though, this is the type of card you could do like mass production. I was thinking, like, as I was doing it, I was like, ooh, the way this all like came together and how easy it was to do card sets, you know, to give as gifts. Perfect. Because trust me, once you see how easy the stenciling is and you add the color, it's like these look so much more involved and like so much more work went into them when it's so easy. So, stencils. There is a layering stencil set. It is a separate purchase. It is 6 stencils. Layering stencils are nothing new. You know, they've been out for a while and more brands are doing them. And I'm becoming more and more of a fan of them. Like, they just make life easy. Like, this image, like I said, you could just stamp it or you could heat emboss it. Leave it as is. You could watercolor it. You could color it with Copics. You could do whatever you want. The other option is to use these stencils. And I love it a lot. Like, it's so ridiculously easy. I just kind of sat here and I was like, why? Why was this so easy? So I just grabbed a stencil. It doesn't matter what one you start with, really. It just all works. And it lines up so easy. It's not difficult at all. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So I grabbed this one, and this happened to be the greenery. So I'm using a bunch of Simon's Positively Saturated inks. And you could totally do just one color basically per stencil. I was doing 2 because I love that like sort of gradiated look, but you could honestly end up with just beautiful results with just using one color of ink per thing, if you know what I mean. So I started with a lighter green, went over that with I'm using small blending brushes because while these stencils are sort of big-ish, they're still small little areas. So I'm using my little blending brushes and then going with a lighter color first. And then I pick up a little bit of the darker color and just kind of slap it on. No rhyme or reason. Honestly, no rhyme or reason. It's so easy. I can't believe it's not butter. Anyway, I'm using just some like Spellbinders tape that's like face up, kind of like from the back of these pieces. And it just works to kind of adhere each stencil into place since I'm doing multiples. The next one was the flower centers. So I'm using just a lighter brown and a darker brown. Same thing. Stencil it on. Go on to the next one, which happens to be kind of the littler flowers and buds. So I decided to do oranges for that one. So just a little bit of like a lighter peachy orange and then a darker orange. And I will link to all the specific colors I used, along with all the supplies, etc., etc. That'll be in the description box below the video, as well as on my blog. So I just kept doing one thing at a time. You know, did the stencil of the greenery on both pieces, the centers on both pieces, these little buds on both pieces, and just kept working my way through all of these stencils. And it just, I couldn't tell you exactly how long it took me. It didn't take very long though. This is sped up in editing, of course, but still, it took no time compared to like how long it would take me to like color these with Copics, which you can't do with heat embossing if you're not aware. I don't recommend using Copics after you've heat embossed an image. There's something in the in embossing powder that reacts with Copic markers, and you can ruin the nibs of your Copic markers with that. So if you want heat embossed images, generally you have to stamp it, color it, and then re-stamp and heat emboss, which is just kind of a pain in the butt, and I don't do it very often. So getting that smooth kind of Copic-like look, but using stencils and little blending brushes and inks, totally my jam. Like, as this was coming together, I was just having more and more fun. And then I was like, ooh, different colors. So yeah, like I said, the whole thing was a little bit of a roller coaster with the ideas I had going, you know, because I really think these would have looked gorgeous just as is without the color, but the color just, you know, brings it all to life. So I just kept going through, like I said, grabbing the next stencil, and then they're done. Like, it was so incredibly easy. It just, yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I'm looking forward to more and more of these types of sets coming out. I might need to get my hands on some more. I did add splatter, of course. I was trying to go more clean and simple with this, but you guys know me. I need to have splatter. And also, it's a good thing I did, because I still manage, like, for me, clean and simple is the most difficult, because I get smudges and fingerprints, and I make a mess. And I ended up doing that on these. You can't really see it in the video, but there were, I don't know how I managed it, but I got a couple smears and smudges on these regardless. So the splatter saved me, because I just added a bit more splatter off camera to fix those spots. So yeah, starry colors, little watercolor set. I added water to that far pan, swirled up with my brush. I didn't use my fan brush this time, just a regular paintbrush. Because I didn't want as much splatter. I wanted it a little more controlled. So I'd set those aside, and then I just grabbed a piece of white cardstock, and I'm using sentiments from, one is from the Hello Sweetheart set, and the other one is from the new BUZZWORD set. So I lined those up, and I'm going to do the same thing. I use my anti-static powder tool, and then I'm inking up these stamps with Honeybee's clear embossing ink. I flipped the cardstock around and did it a second time, so I've got doubles, and then coated them with that gold embossing powder. Melted it with my heat tool, and then off camera I trimmed off the little bottom pieces, the ones that say "are awesome," because the card's going to say "you are awesome" on the front. And then these other sentiments that are from the Hello Sweetheart set, I decided to add a little bit of ink blending just to tint them so that they'll stand out a little bit more on the inside of my card. Plus, I just really love these colors. This is Simon's Bubblegum is the lighter pink, and Taffy is the darker pink, and they're just pretty. So blend it on the lighter color first, and then blend on the darker color. And of course, just like the floral image, because these are heat embossed, the heat embossing like resists the ink. So also of note, I don't show it in the video because I didn't think to do it, but follow my advice, do as I say, not as I do. Wipe these off with like a tissue. Same with the floral images, because again, the heat embossing resists the color, but it sits on top. And that's probably how I got the smudges and the random fingerprints here and there, is my fingers probably picked up some of the ink sitting on top of the embossing powder, like the melted embossing powder. So yeah, wipe this off with a tissue, because it will remove any of that excess ink so you don't get it everywhere. And then you should be good to go. So I die cut those with the coordinating little wafer dies. And I also die cut the U word from the big BUZZWORD wafer die set, which is traditional honeybee. There's the word, the outline, and then the second outline with all the piercing detail. But again, I'm only using just the word this time. And I die cut 2 layers from white cardstock, and then the top layer I die cut from some gold glitter cardstock, and then stacking those together, as is tradition. So I've got that bit of, you know, dimension that I just love. So I got all those stacked, And then I pulled my MISTI out where I had left this big floral heart stamp because it was already centered perfectly for the card fronts. And I am inking that up with Simon's Fossil ink. Just soft and neutral, but you get all that beautiful detail, and it's easy to write over with, you know, ballpoint pen, etc., because it's just a nice light. It's like a grayish sort of color. I love it. So stamp that on the inside of both of these card bases, and both my card bases are A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And off camera I had trimmed down the card fronts to be slightly smaller, like about 4 inches by 5 1/4, something like that, just to be slightly smaller. So I'm going to adhere the sentiments to the inside of the card. Again, apologies if this, I'm sure my microphone's picking it up. My big old heater is starting to kick in, and I am not turning it off for this voiceover because it is like minus 30 Celsius here right now, and I don't want to freeze. So, so anyhow, I adhered my die cut sentiments and my heat emboss sentiments. I adhered the pink ones to the insides of the cards, the other ones to the card front, and I backed the card fronts with Simon's Big Mama foam tape, which is just nice and thin. It's only like a 1/16 of an inch thick, something like that. So it just gives me that little bit of dimension that I love. So I'd back the card fronts with that, peeled off the backing, and then I will pop these onto my card bases. And again, as is tradition, and me being the broken record as I am, you could leave it at that, but I'm gonna add some bling, just cuz. So I have some Studio Caudia Gold Sparkle Crystals. These are the clear ones with gold glitter in them, and they're beautiful, and I love them. They're one of my favorites. So I just adhered a few. I didn't go too crazy. So adhering those into place again with Honeybee's Precision Glue, just kind of doing a little bit of a sort of a triangle pattern here. I know I still get asked a lot. Maybe one of these days I can do a video on my, I don't know. I don't really have a thought process when it comes to applying bling. I just stick it where it seems to look good, and I try not to worry about it too much. But yeah, once those are in place, these cards are complete. This video is actually part of a video hop sharing inspiration with this release. So I will have that info in the description box below my video, along with like the links to the other stops. So definitely check them out because Honeybee has some amazing designers. Like, man, the cards they create are just fabulous, like so worth checking out. So all the info, the links, my blog post, all that stuff will be in the description box below. Check it all out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I very much appreciate you all, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!